So if you are in our breakout room, we are going to talk about a strategy 2, which is using video for reflection. And so just an overview here. Using video is new for a lot of folks. It varies from school to school and also from district to district. But sometimes an extra set of eyes in the classroom can help us grow. And I think it's important to note that when you use video for a growth mindset, that kind of helps some of the nervousness we see with teachers. Let me just ask, what makes you nervous about using video in your classroom? Anybody have any nervousness around video? You can either just chat with us, unmute, share with us. We're using video right now.
I just that whole thing of when you hear your voice, it never sounds the way you think it does. I just did a podcast unit with some of my kiddos, and they said the same thing. They were like, "I can't believe my voice sounds like that."
Yeah.
Yes.
That me? Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a eye opener, especially for kids.
Or maybe an ear opener.
An ear okay. Matthew Willems, they'll be here for the next 2 hours. I'll just know just with my experience with video that I see it with a lot of newer teachers too, because they're just learning their craft and they don't want to make mistakes, and if they're being evaluated, it's when you introduce video, it's like, oh, you're going to show all my flaws and I'm not ready yet and I'm just learning. And so I see a lot of nervousness around newer teachers, and that's to be expected. Anybody new to any profession is just still learning how to grow and perfect their craft. But again, if you approach it from a growth mindset, I think it eases the process. We'll share a few tips here. Let's just remind you how this is connected, though, what we're going to talk about. It's connected to the CRE mindset of how we continuously reflect on your cultural lens, beliefs, and biases, and you change your practice accordingly. So those 2 key actions we want you to think about are to ask questions when planning individually or with groups of teachers and challenge your cultural assumptions or biases. And the other key action is to, again, continually engage in just self-reflection and have those conversations that push your understanding of biases and beliefs and how those biases impact your interactions with students in your classroom. So this is how this will work. This is our 6th session, and if you're familiar with how this works, so in our breakout room right now, you have 2 options. You can stay with us, and we're going to do the follow along with me portion here, and we will walk you through how to think through what to look for when using video reflections. Again, this is the follow along with me part. We'll review how to record your lessons. We'll talk about how to know what to look for when you review your lessons. So that's staying with us live, and we'll guide you through that. Or you can work independently in just a moment. But if you work independently, we want you to do the items listed over there, and that is review the guided reflection questions. There's a few articles we want you to read on the resources page there. Understand the options for recording interactions when you reflect. There's a student, write the student survey questions to help narrow your focus on reflection, and then create some exemplar video responses and look-fors. So let you look at those for a moment here. And if you do work independently, shown on the right side, you can just exit the meet here, but come back here at 11:05 a.m. and we're gonna share one idea of how you're gonna implement this in your classroom. Or if you're gonna follow along with us, just stay tuned here and we're gonna walk you through the content. So, think about that. Okay, all right, so we're going to continue on here for those of you who want to stay with us. So here are some video considerations if you are going to use video in your practice. Try to find a focus of what you're looking for. So like I have a problem connecting or starting my lessons or wrapping them up. I want to look, that's what I want to fix here, or some advice. So have a specific item. If you're trying to look for everything, it can be cumbersome. And again, have a growth mindset. I think if you approach it with that, and I know some teachers work in teams, and that makes it a lot easier. It's like, hey, we're all going to do this together. We're all at various stages of being comfortable with using video because you're committing yourself to, to a permanent record or to tape. So use a team approach if you can, and of course a growth mindset. How am I going to get better? Coaches might want you to tape yourself. We see a lot of this, right? There's a lot of websites now who, not just in the teaching profession, but anything you want to get better at. They will say, submit your video, and for this amount of money, I will give you tips on how you can get better at your practice, whether it's teaching or tennis or anything. So, but yeah, the growth mindset is important. And again, last piece there. Share the video with team members. If you can hook up with somebody at your school and say, let's do this together, I think it'll be a pleasurable experience. Some of the don'ts over there, kind of reflect on those again. Try not to, shame students for bad behavior. And of course, any time you put video on the web, know where you're putting it, who you're sharing it with. If you keep it in the DPS domain, it's a lot easier to control. So again, and now once you some other reflection considerations on your video. Again, we just covered some of the limited look-fors. For students also, if you want students to reflect on any of their practices or any of their assignments, we have multiple tools that are in use in the district. Google Forms is a great way for them to reflect. Seesaw for the elementary set. It's very easy for even a first grader to give me a quick video on what you liked about this assignment. Boom, they can do it very quickly in Seesaw. We have Screencastify Submit, which is useful, Edpuzzle, and also Flipgrid. So outside of that too, you as teachers, you get a lot of data that helps you reflect on your practice. The interims, we got CMAS coming up this week. That'll give us some reflection on your work, exit tickets, quizzes, grades, behavior, lots of other data that will help you reflect on your work with kids. Here's a few helpful guidelines to help check your biases. So this is referenced from a recent Edutopia piece. And, bias has as they say here, bias is sneaky. It has a way of creeping into spaces that we think are airtight. So there's a couple examples here involving 7th grade students, and also involving kids who's based on their names, they were treated differently. So, even if we think we're bulletproof, bias has a way of creeping in. So what can you do to help you with this? There's 3 ways to check your biases here. One, you can use grading rubrics. So rubrics will help you get you some clear standards, and that might help. 2, get a second opinion. Again, if you're using video or just having somebody visit your classroom, ask somebody to say, take a look at how I'm doing this. I need a second set of eyes. And 3rd, conduct a self-audit. Check your materials. Are they inclusive enough? Are your teaching moves reflective of and inclusive of your student population? And we'll have a little audit for you at the end, a little checklist. So if you want to do a self-audit, we'll have a list for you there. So those are 3 ways to check your biases.
So how do you get started? Well, I always like to try to spend as little money as possible and just use what resources I have available to me. The easiest one is to use a Chromebook. You probably have a Chromebook somewhere in your building you could probably use, or any other teacher device. These work really well for small groups. The weakest link in any video is the audio, so you want the microphone as close to the voice as you can get. And so with a small group, people are closer to the Chromebook than it is for a whole group. You can still do a video for the Chromebook, but you also have an option if you happen to have a pair of Bluetooth headphones, or in this case, is there AirPods? These include a microphone in them, so the microphone walks with me. You can use that as well. But just using the webcam in the the Chromebook allows you to use something like Google Meet to record your session, just like we're recording this PDU right now. So again, doesn't necessarily require any additional hardware. You have the equipment available now to start using this as soon as you want, tomorrow if you want. For those who would like to have a little more, a little better experience, a camera that follows you throughout the classroom, you might want to think about using a Swivel. It looks like the device, the puck device up in the upper right corner. You can also see another Swivel with an iPad mini attached. If you're using a full-sized iPad, you might want to also include some braces on it so that it doesn't fall off. That's a little large. iPad mini works really well with it, or even a phone works great. The Swivel is used by professionals who want to work with their own decisions that they make each day. You might be surprised if you're just checking how many decisions did you make in a session. In a day, teachers are going to be confronted with hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions that they have to make. You are constantly on stage, and that's hard to maintain. So try not to do it by yourself. See if you can find a peer in your building to help you work through that. Also, restating what we've already mentioned a couple times. In your Edutopia article, there's a link there that talks about building a team. If you want to create an account with Swivel, you can do that with your DPS Google account. So again, it doesn't require any additional fees. There is a paid for version as well, but you don't have to use it. You can record directly to the device instead of up to the cloud. Do start small. With established goals. Think about focusing on areas where things are not working well, where there's a dilemma. But remember, you're analyzing, not criticizing. So within Swivel, if you want more information, there is a link here to the Swivel YouTube channel and to the Swivel Education Hub. Lots of great resources on how to set this up and when to use it, how to use it and get the most back from it. And if you're really interested, you can email Tess Vigil, and she has a number of Swivels with iPad minis that can be checked out to you. So if you're interested in exploring a Swivel, reach out to Tess V. Hill and she can get you started with one. Video and.
Okay, so once you have that video, if you wanted a tool where people can comment on the video at a specific point and mark it up, or actually just comment on it, here's a tool called Video Ant. And it's currently a free tool from the University of Minnesota. There's also a link on the slide deck to some other tools, but Video Ant is very easy to use. Here's some ideas for instructors there if you wanted to use it as a lecture or a large group discussion. Kids, your students can also use it with their DPS account. So if they wanted to reflect on how any piece of video they have, whether they're how they work in a group or their presentation, if you're doing public speaking, they can use Video Ant. Here's a little screenshot of a video I uploaded of a teacher how she conducts breakout rooms in a virtual setting. And I uploaded the video, and then I was able to go to specific spots and comment on it. So again, this can be done asynchronously. That's like 52. So it's very easy to get into. The one, again, about security and privacy, you are putting a video onto somebody else's website. So again, just use common sense of like, do I want other people to see this video? Because again, it's outside. Once you upload it, just like YouTube, once you upload it, other folks might be able to see it. You can also do the same thing if you just keep the video inside the DPS on your Google Drive and create a Google document just to reflect on it. But you won't have the little marker features that Video Ant has. But Video Ant's a very useful and easy tool if you want to comment on specific spots on a video.
So we also encourage you, as the first learner in the room, to share that information with your students, because that learning experience is something that we want to move to the student level. It helps them in terms of metacognition, helps shift the rigor of who's doing the thinking to the student level. So encourage your students to also be looking at videos of themselves and their own work and comment on it. There are some easy ways to get student created videos. One is in Seesaw, easy for them to click the green plus to add to their portfolio. You can also set up a Screencastify submit lesson for students to collect and share information. Edpuzzle allows students to reply in video and audio, and Flipgrid is also set up for video responses as well. So think about students also reflecting on their learning just as you are reflecting on your learning and your biases. So give them a tool to do the same thing.
And here's an easy way, it's a checklist for you to reflect on your instructional practices. This is from Zaretta Hammond's work on culturally relevant teaching there. So if you click on that Google form, you'll see some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself, or your team might want to ask yourself, again, relating to yourself and your instruction. So again, this is critically reflecting on your practices in the classroom, asking your questions about, do students have choice in your classroom? Do they allow to explore passions in your classroom? Do you engage in self-reflection around race, gender, culture, privilege in your classroom? The identities of your students are reflected in your instruction. Black excellence is at the forefront of your instruction. So those are questions or a checklist you can ask yourself, and that's provided there for you.
We also have a number of resources. These are excellent articles and a great video that shows what it looks like to do video in your classroom. If you haven't seen it before, if it's not a clear picture in your mind, Definitely recommend the video for it, for you to take a look at, and the other resources listed on that page. The next thing that we need that to refresh, sorry, is a reminder that we'll be returning to the whole group. That's this link again at 11:05. So you now have time to work on what we had put in earlier for independent work time and expectations. At this point, you now have time to develop survey questions to help you narrow your own focus of reflection, and time to actually create an exemplar video with responses and look fors. So we would strongly recommend and encourage and invite you to spend this next 35 minutes, 45 minutes to spend some time collecting information, looking through those resources and developing your own questions to help you focus on your own biases and how to set up video in your classroom. So at this time, we will let you work on your style on your own here independently, and remember to come back at 11:05. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.